Today we're going to be talking about why standing is actually better than sitting when it comes to tabla playing. Now, I know standing doesn't have the best reputation. You go on maybe Facebook and Instagram, all the people that are standing are just kind of messing around. They don't really play real tabla. I completely understand the perception of it. No real tabla player has ever really been seen giving an amazing solo standing. So why should you do it? And I'm just going to get into exactly that in this video. Now, before I do that, there are a couple links in the description you should check out. So they're in the description, like I just said. The first one is to a more relaxed kind of community where people occasionally practice. They kind of talk more than they practice. It's a younger audience, and that's the Discord community. Next is for those a little bit older, more grown up, working professionals outside of India. There's a link to a community called Skool. This group is called Tabla Evolution. Now, why is it called Tabla Evolution? Because we feel that most of the great teachers teaching tabla today, they're very rigid. They don't really care about you or what country you're from, what you're going through. And we do our best using technology and just tips overall that we've gathered from all over the world to kind of do our best to evolve tabla playing. So if that sounds like it's good for you, click the link in the description and join us. Now, let's get into this topic that definitely should trigger some people. Why is standing better than sitting? Now, the first thing I'll say is when it comes to a performance, I just think that in many cases, the tabla player will be going on maybe after a Kathak performance, after dance maybe. It's one of those kind of events. The thing is, standing is so much more animated. There's so much more movement, more to look at, that in the next performance where everyone just sits, it's naturally just kind of boring. I know this is an art form where we're supposed to be just extremely humble and grounded, but you can also do that standing up. You know, there's nothing stopping you from doing that standing up. I know it'll be a bit of a hill to climb to kind of adapt your bowls. Some of them, including the baya, you kind of need, a little bit of pressure from above. So how is that possible? I'll get into all of that in this video, but let's take a look at some of the reasons that I got ChatGPT to tell me on why standing is better than sitting. So let's take a look at that. All right, so why standing might be better than sitting for tabla. Improved spinal alignment. Now, I'm not going to go through each point, but if you sit and you keep your pelvis tilted backwards, it kind of rounds out your spine. This is particularly bad if you're young and you're in your developmental years. I know a very amazing tabla player that I kind of believe may have stunted his growth because he practiced so much sitting. Standing naturally elongates the spine, engages the core. I love it. Prevent the tabla hunch. Now, the other thing about the tabla hunch, it wasn't that bad 20, 30 years ago. But today we're already hunching while we go on our phones. So how much hunch do you really want in your life? Just consider that. Better circulation, as you're standing, you're not, compressing blood vessels, but let's be honest, people don't care that much about this part. I know it's important, but people don't really care. You will probably have less numbness and tingling and swelling, things like that, which will help you play longer. Again, these benefits will be experienced after you do this all for some time, maybe not initially. This is more of a long-term approach. Balanced weight distribution, engaged core, all right? So, and of course, longevity. We're thinking long-term here. So what are the potential challenges? I'll get into exactly that. The instrument height, and like I was saying, adaptation of technique. So let me now come back to myself. So this is one of the biggest challenges. So if you're watching this and you're young or you have a kid, what I recommend is get a standing desk. This here is a standing desk I'm using, and I also have one that you can't really see below in the video that I'm standing and playing. In front of that I've kept sandbags that, you know, keep my tabla. I can even push my tabla forward. It doesn't move. And this desk right here kind of keeps my biome moving from side to side. So those are kind of some things that I've done to make the tabla very stable while I'm playing. The other thing is when you are standing, like I said before, you may not be able to put as much weight as you could like this, as you could, you know, press down with your shoulder. So you're going to have to practice more of pushing forward on the biome. I made a video on this just last week. I'll try and link it in the description, but I talk about exactly that. When you stand, you will have to put more emphasis on the biome. So you'll have to work a little bit harder at that. But that's not even a big downside because few tabla players really even focus that much on the baya. The daya seems like it's what does everything. And those are some of the reasons why I think standing is just better than sitting for tabla playing. This may trigger some people, and I know the perception is that tabla players that stand, oh, they're just fusion tabla players. They're not real tabla players. But that perception really has to change if you want, you know, longevity in tabla playing. The last example that I'll give you is of Pandit Aninder Chatterjee. Now, for those of you that don't know, he had serious back issues when he was playing. Now, am I saying that standing could have completely solved that? No. But definitely you do have to understand that someone like him that's just hyper focused on clarity, there is no way he's not bent forward, just, you know, observing his dere, his nanagene. Even a little bit, I assume what people do is they hunch forward so they can kind of listen even better. I guarantee he was doing that. And over time, it'll kind of just curve your spine. If you're young, it'll stunt your growth. I just don't see any reason why that has to be the predominant way to play, sitting. Standing, I believe, is the future of tabla playing. For those of you that want to try it, click the link in the description, join Skool, and I can definitely explain further how you can exactly do this. Thank you.